Yo, what are you doing out here?
Being a single man protest, trying to spread some word about a free Palestine and ending the occupation. I can literally see parents like, is that true that we're bombing kids as the sign reads? And mom's like, that's not true. And I can read their lips and I'm like, no, don't lie to your kid. The number is actually higher. I only made it 300, so it's easier to read.
Do you smoke weed?
I do, man.
You want to smoke some and talk about it?
I'm down. I'm down.
All right, let's go. All right. We can get right into it. I'm gonna give myself a little dab. Do you want to introduce yourself to the people?
My name's Alex. I have been a single man protest here locally where we live, and it's a very rural. There's a lot of cattle land out here. It's beef counties, what they used to say. I've been out protesting, like I said, locally on a busy street here in the center of town, showing people some awareness of ending the occupation of Palestine that is completely funded by our tax dollars as Americans.
We'll get right into that. No problem. Can you tell us what you do for a living?
Man, I just started a business this year. Actually, it's been pretty good. It's actually been so beneficial. I've had enough to be able to take time and be out, spreading some awareness, and let people know a little more information out there about what we're, supporting. So,
So, just to be clear, you are self-employed, right?
yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. So, what is it that your business does?
I do a lot of contract labor for a buddy who has his own business, and we go out, do quite a bit of stuff. I'll do welding here and there. I'll do some mechanic work, but everything's been pretty fruitful. Anybody that needs regular help, I'll just go out and help them. But that's just how I ran my business through it. So um, it just helps out, helps out a lot more to be able to watch how your money is being spent when you can have this.
That's awesome, man. That's pretty cool. So, back to the protest and get right into it. Uh, I just wanted to tell the people a little about yourself. Um, what caused you to do this, or one day you woke up, and I'm sure you've seen some stuff on the internet, of course, but what brought you to want to protest out here in such a Republican area?
So one, I love where we're from, man. There's a great area, and there's a very strong community here of immigrants that all of our beef nation brings. Tyson brings in a lot of immigration, and we
And
have
Tyson
a
is a beef plant.
yeah, Tyson beef, and so there's a lot of Muslim migrants. We have a strong Muslim community here that I'm trying to sort of outreach and speak for as well, because what's going on is the highest form, in my opinion, in our reality as well. I'll take it further than my opinion, but apartheid state, ethnic cleansing. It's been classified as genocide. The Israeli occupation of Palestine has been devastating and uh, put on so much suffering to these people who truly don't deserve it. You know, good Lord Jesus was from Palestine. I don't know why people really debate that with me, but that's true. So I come from a lot of points of being wanting to be a good American, not having our tax dollars hurting people right overseas. Let's focus on Americans, and so we have nothing to gain by hurting these people. Uh, in reality, yeah, I was just checking this out. Pretty
You're
sweet. How does
saying
this work?
uh, you just press it 2 times, and
Is it pressed already?
yeah,
I see it working.
it'll heat
Okay.
up again, and you're good to go.
All right.
Um, uh, you said that it's multiple. You come from multiple angles, and there's multiple reasons why you want to protest in favor of Palestine. Um, one of them being uh, tax dollars, of course, U.S. tax dollars. Now, what? A little too much. Um, what do you think the government's position has been so far, and where are they going wrong, in your opinion?
So, um, we have a long-standing security relationship with Israel, as our officials would put it, in an alliance, right? Well, it stems back for decades, but they've, ah, man, I just about forgot your question, honestly. Kind of got me, but
That's the dabs, bro. That's the dab
yeah,
effect.
but
But
they,
basically, where is the government going wrong?
that's right. So the government's completely going wrong when you're supporting genocide. Let's start with that. Taxes in itself, many Americans agree that taxes are theft. Taxation is theft, and we do not have proper representation for the American people when we have two presidential candidates like Kamala and Donald Trump now, who are the leading two primaries, and they are both Zionists. So my argument is against Zionism. Like I said, our outstanding relationship in our history, we've given more than 300 billion to Israel, and we've gotten nothing to show for it as Americans. I'll be quite honest. We go out when they need us and they need help fighting conflicts and wars. We've invaded other nations for them. We send our people to die for this nation. I'll be honest, and it's always never a benefit to Americans when that happens because our soldiers come back and on average 22 of them commit suicide daily. So this is something that is an ongoing problem that involves our American people and our tax dollars being stolen from us to fund an evil apartheid state. And I try to take this angle of a good-heartedness, like truly, like it's got to stop. We can't send our people to die for that. We sent 4,000 Marines out.
What does the U.S. gain? And I come from a purely wanting to learn standpoint. I don't uh, have no sense of agenda or opinion other than yeah, kids shouldn't be dying, of course, and we should
That's my agenda.
we'd free some children from death. And so I'm trying to learn. Is all I'm trying to tell you.
I love it.
Is what does the U.S. gain from its being an ally with Israel?
So truly, the only thing that we would gain, and not we as Americans, because we don't have investment in these privatizations when they go through and want to secure resources like the gas and oil fields that are offshore in the Gaza Strip area. There's other resources that they have more gas and oil. I believe that so there's a very big privatization scheme going on, and this is a foothold for us to have that. It's such a strong point for military operations, making sure that they have a strong point for controlling their areas like Syria. Syria, we occupy 1/3 of their nation, and it is primarily the oil fields that we occupy. Coincidence? No. It's the privatization of resources that they're seeking to do. It is a very capitalist uh, evil that is going on, and this is a very large source of it. Israel wants to drag the United States into a huge conflict currently. Um, they just got sent $20 billion after committing a huge massacre that bombing a school full of refugees with more than 100 victims that died. It's an insane number, and we continue to fund this week after week and reward them for committing a massacre almost daily. Almost daily. It's horrible
Yeah.
we're seeing from our phones.
Um, got a bunch of points to make. It's just hard to scroll through all of them in my head. You mentioned Zionism
Yep.
prior to this. Can you tell us a little bit of what Zionism is and why you're so against it?
So for Israelis, Zionism is this idea that Israel has a right to exist on stolen land, mind you. Um, there's so many ways to break this down and explain it. Um, Zionism, in reality, is a horrible ideology kin to Nazism, kin to manifest destiny. Um, these ideas of like a superior race or religion that is so violent and looks to uh, commit atrocities to anybody that's beneath them in their mindset. And it's a scary thing to deal with when both of our candidates, like I said, are such strong supporters of the state of Israel. They are de facto Zionists. Joe Biden's on camera multiple times saying, "I am a Zionist. You do not have to be Israeli or Jewish, whichever it was he said in that clip, to be a Zionist." So it's it has nothing to do with Judaism. It has nothing to do with uh, any sort of true human thoughtful, like humanity seeking belief. It is we are superior, and they currently are by two courts' definition: the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court. Those of which that tried Nazis when they were through with the war and lost. Um, so when these two courts go through evidence brought to them by South Africa. There's other nations that have joined this court case in support of it, basically. And they bring forth evidence that shows the clear cut proof of ethnic cleansing, pushing people from the land, stealing land, these more than 30,000 illegal settlements that are expanding and taking more people's homes. Americans don't support home theft at all. This is a crazy idea for Americans to even comprehend when you explain it to them. Because I'll bring up something as simple as what is the Second Amendment for? And it's always to defend your nation and your home and your personal property, your life, your family. And it's something that Americans all around us should agree with being able to protect. And we deny Palestinians constantly through UN votes, where there's an outstanding number of support for the world to recognize a Palestinian state. And Israel, some other Western countries, usually Israel and the US, will always deny that. And US has the power to veto anything that's outnumbered. So even though the majority, like 90% of the nations in the world, agree that we should recognize Palestine, reinstate borders to the 1967 uh, Palestine borders, which, in my opinion, isn't enough. We should do away with the state of Israel. Nazi Germany does not exist anymore. We need to do away with the state of Israel. They've done nothing but kill Americans, quite honestly. We can look up USS Liberty for those that don't believe me. They bombed an American ship trying to drag us into another war. There's plenty of other examples. There's been protesters like myself who are able to get themselves out there and are protesting, and they get killed by the IDF, Israeli Defense Force, and
Thank you for
they,
clarifying.
yeah, no problem. So her name was Rachel. I forget her last name. She was an activist trying to speak out for destruction of Palestinian homes being bulldozed. You almost dropped the table putting your glass down.
But
But they ran her over with these large power equipment, like heavy equipment machinery, and it's insane. You know they
yeah,
how
yeah.
they kill Americans, and we do not bat an eye to it. It's hurtful. It's just it's dirt in our faces as Americans.
So based on what you just told me, of course I've done a little bit of extra research on my own as well. Um, what it would be obvious to the common individual that Israel's in the wrong, and that Palestine obviously needs freed, needs established for, and needs spoken for, whatever you say. They it would be obvious. It's simple if you break it down how you just broke it down to me. What is the U.S.? How is the U.S. justify? I should say how. How is the U.S. justifying this, and what is their reason behind supporting Israel and continuing to be allies with
That's a
them?
good question, actually. So, if I'll man, where to start? So, U.S. just says that we're allies, this and that. We're going to protect them no matter what, because they are our greatest allies. Even though I would debate that. Um, so, where we deny it is like when people like Anthony Blinken, who's a spokesman for the U.S. government, um, when reporters bring up that exact question, the two international courts ruled this is a genocide and that Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal. Why do we host him like we did here in the US? And he gave a speech and got more than 50 standing ovations. Like, this is crazy. This would be like more than 50 standing ovations to uh, Adolf Hitler, quite honestly. Mass murdering person and a warmonger. And they broke a record for him on standing ovations. That's something else to consider about the American mindset of our politicians and what Zionism means. They are not caring about Americans, anyways. So they continue to.
If it goes against what their plans are, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Like we've seen so many examples in our own past. We can say whichever ones behind the screen that you'd like to, but um, they disregard Americans completely. So I'll get back to Anthony Blinken being interviewed at the press conference and asked, why do we host him, this and that. He's recognized as a war criminal by two international courts. We don't agree. We deny, like straight up, they're saying we deny that he's a war criminal. This and that. They some bullshit about October 7th being some heinous crime. I'll get into that later. Remind me. And that, so we completely deny. He's been on camera denying that Benjamin Netanyahu, however you say it, ugly name, is not a war criminal. After two courts decided that. What are we, a mafia state? We also had US politicians say that we should sanction members of these courts in a threatening way. Like, you're barred from the United States, you're barred from other things. That's a mafia ass mentality. Follow our law and order. Your law and order is beneath us. That is on its own another double standard by the Western world that I denounce.
Very interesting and very deep, deep, deep point. It's almost like our morals go out the window when
Where does a moral compass point north to? Where's it at? How do we say that we believe in liberty, justice,
Mhm.
independence, all the X through the everything,
as far as
democracy?
profit, resources, things that we benefit from are involved, we will abandon them. We will abandon morals. We will abandon everything.
Yep,
We will,
huge,
yeah.
huge moral abandonment.
That seems to play the biggest role. Now, you told me to bring you back, and I will, to
Oh,
October
seventh, right?
7th. Was that the attack
Yeah,
of Hamas,
and resistance.
and which is what started and supposedly provoked all of this?
Right, right. So I'll get into the propaganda story of it. That somehow this great, huge, technologically
Did you want
advanced.
another day?
You can fix me up, yeah. And this superpower in the Middle East of great technology and military resources and what is it, intelligence info. They somehow let this attack happen after whatever, but they Hamas resistance group infiltrates the area and allegedly murders more than 1,000 victims. Right? It's so easy to call bullshit on these people because they admit it. They have something that's called. Hold on.
Um, Also, quick to prefix a little bit. I keep hitting the table a little bit. I'm sorry if the footage is shaky. This shit's been going on for years. Motherfuckers has been going at it for years.
1948.
So,
They
um,
began this.
been going back and forth, and from what I have seen, uh, Palestine barely exists. So it's just like the big bully bullying the little guy for years on end, and I feel like from what I get from it, Palestine was finally fed up, whether it's Hamas or it's not Hamas. The damage has been done. Anyways,
Great, great 2 cents, I'll say, man. That's very good to say.
I had to prefix it a little bit. So
That is a good prefix. It's the occupation has been ongoing for so long, and to say that the amount of victims from October 7th till now are the only victims that ever happened would be so disrespectfully a disservice. So thanks for the summary a bit because I didn't get into that, and but yeah, it's been so long. All of these people should be recognized as victims of this apartheid state. But back to October 7th, this huge security force nation basically had this huge attack happen to them, and they say this resistance group killed over 1,000 people and took a bunch of hostages, and that was their intro that they needed to defend themselves from Palestinian resistance, Hamas. Hamas is a big one that they love to throw around as a boogeyman, and
why do you say that?
I'll get into that when I explain the propaganda story through that. So that was their justification to attacking Palestine and looking for Hamas resistance and destroying Hamas. So that's the propaganda story. It's been what, 8 months, I believe. Horrific, dude. The ratio of victims from October 7th to for Israelis to right now for Palestinians, it's they just confirmed 40,000 people are dead, Palestinians, and that's not individuals. That's entire families in some cases, an entire family tree, the grandparents to the grandchildren. It's an insane reality. So many examples of them.
Sad.
You could really hold back tears in just explaining this. It's so difficult. And
And you said that the attack.
was their justification?
Yeah. Not just, but I wanted. There was a number you said. How many people did they kill?
They're confirmed. Oh, it's like 1,200,
So
1,400.
even if it was an eye for an eye, these motherfuckers already got their shit back.
40 to 1
I mean, I'm not trying to make light of
ratio. 40 to 1. You're exactly right, which was what I was about to lead into.
like your fucking get backs got back. You're good.
It's a punishment.
We
It's a
can't.
suffering that we're putting onto these people. 40,000 people for 12,000. Now, those are two reality numbers, real numbers that have been confirmed now. October 7th happened, let's say, and let's also acknowledge stuff that the own IDF security has also acknowledged in their own propaganda. The Hannibal Directive is a green light for IDF soldiers to shoot anything and anybody moving if it means that it looks like it's a enemy combatant, and if they know it's their own people being taken hostage, they'd rather a dead victim than a live hostage, and that is fucking insane. The Hannibal Directive, they admit to that very day that they killed a huge number of their own casualties
Just to fucking get some of theirs, a lot of
and
theirs.
a huge justification. So they admit that, right? They admit that. They truly have admitted it. You can Google it. You can look it up. The Hannibal Directive for one, and they've even during their missions of or bombardment, I guess runs, they've killed some of their own people or like been super close. Like even their victims that they have rescued, they were I'd tell them like Yeah, we could hear the bombs going off. They sound like they are hella close. Pretty much is what they're saying. It's like, uh, where do we begin to believe that these people are even what they claim as the most moral army in the world? I don't understand how you corral 2.2 million people into a very small stretch of land that's waterlocked and like hit with another border, and we have been bombarding them into smaller and smaller regions. When you look up a map of like how densely bombed the area has been, it's insane. And um, I have a Snapchat friend that I've turned into a pen pal, and um, he has a GoFundMe. I'll try to give Israel the link for it, and but he's been injured now, and they've let me know. And but basically, I found him by zooming in on the map of Gaza and the Rafah area, and tapping the hotspot postings, whatever they're called, story postings, and watching a lot of them. And he saw that I viewed his story and messaged me, added me, asking like, "What's up? Who am I? Like, where am I from?" And I explained, I understand what's going on to him, and I don't agree with any of it. And they're using Google Translate over it, and he like appreciative and asked for donations, and I've donated the money myself. Um, then they have the account that I've also donated to. Like I do more than just trying to stand out flipping signs on this intersection of the street. So
Yeah, we'll definitely get those GoFundmes from you and post them on the link on the description and stuff. So, you said earlier in the video, go way back. You said that both parties are in support of Israel, right?
right.
So meaning both main parties, meaning Democrats and Republicans. What would you advise people to? Damn, there's a big ass wasp right there.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, it doesn't kill us.
No, he'll be good.
Yeah. So,
It's my neighbor.
what would you advise people to go with this election if they were going to vote? Because um, based on this atrocity that has been ongoing for the
Right.
past 8 months, what would you tell them to vote? What would be your best bet to end what is going on in Palestine and in Israel?
Our best bet to end, uh, basically to be, I'll say it as anti, uh, neo-colonialist, neo-imperialist, basically invading nations for resources, as we spoke about earlier, for oil, gold, all kinds of stuff like that. So I would say that, man, I almost lost myself. These ideas that we need to be against, or really for, are not pro-war. Trump is pro-war. He wants to continue supplying Israel. He actually critiques and criticizes Democrats for being soft on it. But Democrats, under Democratic Joe Biden, they have done this insane crime with our tax dollars. We continue to give them 5 billion 2 weeks ago. Just the other day, 20 billion. It's crazy, and it's too much. In our entire history, more than $300 billion. It's and that should go to Americans. They have free, truly universal health care. Americans don't have that. If you qualify, you get cared for. Not a lot of people qualify all the time. There's different things that we've been misled about by both parties that have left us Americans with a short stick as we continue to get robbed for these private wars. And they use our tax dollars, and they print and print and print money, and then they do a bailout for themselves. They do a $1,200 check to Americans that the following year gets put back onto your taxes.
So,
Ouch.
yeah, not not the best. I would say moral approach by both of our parties ever usually. So, what would you advise people to vote this election, the upcoming election? How would you advise them
I'm
to?
spending my vote with Jill Stein. She does speak against being anti genocide, not pro Zionism, anti-Zionism, it's a great thing because there's so much that entails with what's going on with America. Like, do a little hard digging and see for yourself. I don't want to just throw a lot of information out there. We don't have too much time and stuff, but um, Jill Stein is a genuine anti-war politician, Green Party, and it's time to start. Even if she doesn't win, don't show that your vote even went to these two Zionist uh, foul, foul beings. And my thing is, if you're a Zionist, you lack humanity because you believe that Palestinians don't have the right to having humanity and peace. And to not have humanity is to not be human. It's I'm not saying they're subhuman. I'm saying they are evil beings to wish this sort of destruction on lesser people who have nothing to gain through this. They only want a recognition as their own state. I give one more example before heading off, I guess. Um, if you believe in Zionism, the belief that uh, Israel has the right to exist based on the premise that Jews were kicked out of Israel or Palestine. It is Palestine, by the way, free Palestine. They deserve the right to go back into that land after 2,000 years and create illegal settlements that are expanding, breaking international law. And if you believe that they have the right to do that and cross borders like that and bomb other nations surrounding them as well as they do so, you believe Mexico has the right to reinstate their prior borders, all the way from Mexico to Kansas, all the way up to some of the north into Washington, all the way back down to Cali. That all used to be Mexico. You believe that Mexico has the right to bomb their way to, and starve families and put nuclear wastewater in our freshwater cells until they reinstate their previous border to what they used to be, killing millions on the way. That's what Zionism is, the belief that they have the right to do that based on a 2,000-year-old premise that they used to be there. Mexico used to be right here, where we live right now. They do not have a right to do that, man. They do not have a right to cross borders. Americans would lose their mind over that. And then, like, I'd give them this example when I'm out here with my signs and I get a group of guys that walk up to me. And by the time that I'm done explaining my points and every example that I could give to these good Americans, they want to shake my hand and pray for me at the end of it, man. I got old lady who had been in a shouting match with me previously saying that Israel was good or something pro-Israel, of course. Or maybe that I was a liar. I don't know. I forgot. And she came back saying that I'm sorry. I looked into it, and you're right. We are committing some crimes with this. Like, at the very base of it, like, I'm so glad. First off, I'm glad she came back and apologized to me. I told her the best apology that she could give me is telling her friends the same message I'm sharing with you guys. Back to your question, Jill Stein is where I would spend my vote, even if she doesn't win. It doesn't give them a count to these Zionist dogs that I don't want to be our president. I don't want Donald Trump to send more and more money to Israel. Put America first, finally. How about that? You said you were going to drain the swamp and you reinstated a bunch of swampy ass people and you support Zionism, committing genocide. That's a swamp right there, man. You're a monster. Kamala Harris says that they're going to stop and, oh, be all kumbaya for the Palestinians, this and that. Well, guess what? She denies that we should instate an embargo on arms deals to Israel. We should continue funding them. They don't want to stop it. They might not want to put more into it, but they're not going to stop it. They're only not putting more into it. Sorry about the mic. Uh, they don't want to put more into it to try to save face. And it's short-sighted. It's insulting to Americans because if you have more than a brain, man, I mean, come on, some sympathy, some humanity, you'll see through all this. You would see through all this uh, identity politics that all the never Trumpers, all of the make America greater again, like those people who are to their core left and right, identity politics, man, steer clear, dude. That's the poison against the dividing you and your neighbor that doesn't want to put the working class together and unite, man. That's what we actually need. We need someone who believes in the American working class. Donald Trump sold us out when he printed out a bunch of money for us and put it on our next tax report. That's crazy. And then what? He gave out PPP loans to a bunch of people and only went after the people that did scams, but did bailouts for the big corporations that took the most of it. Printing money, printing money, printing money. Our inflation is risen because of Donald Trump. When Biden came into office, he also printed a bunch of money for these wars, doing crazy things like that, billions of dollars. I don't know where we get it from. I don't got it. You got it? It's
I
crazy.
don't got $3 billion.
And we continue sending it to them. So they print money, print money. Our inflation is rising. There's nations that are steering clear of us, actually, and creating sanctions and totally separating themselves from deals of business and trade. Uh, some countries are not recognizing Israeli passports. That's a crazy one. I think there was one out there that decided not to. And but they're turning the back on the Western world, and our dollar will continue to fall, and it will continue to run away from American working class. And if you don't remember the 2008 recession, my parents almost lost their home. Very crazy. We were eating rice and beans while living in the house. It was crazy. I didn't understand it, but my parents explained it to us as best they could that they're trying to save, and so they survived through that. But who did they bail out? Not my mom, not my family that was going broke. Um, it's a crazy thing to say that even Democrats support Americans when they caused more than 3 million foreclosures on homes for the working class. And who bought those? People like Zillow, private investors, people who are able to be local community and have more money than the more average person and are able to buy that home. But what do? They turn it into a rental, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So they take
Hell yeah.
they
Landlord
turn into
life.
landlords and they want passive income. Bums, get a job, quit living off of people who go to work for a living like us, man. It's an insult to the working class when we can't afford homes in our own community. It's horrible. There's houses going on Facebook Market for rent for $2,000 a month. Does it cook and clean for you too? That's
Jesus.
crazy.
Yeah.
Um, People don't even make. I bet maybe the average income in Garden City on the higher side might be like 3,600 a month. That's pretty high.
Hell yeah.
And people don't want to spend more than like 1,200, 1,400, almost half of their income monthly to pay rent. That's an insult. Not only that, here's a quick fact: whenever you take in all the taxes that you spend on the counters and on your checks and stuff, man, it's like what, 5 months of the year you're working for free. You're working for Uncle Sam. Taxation's theft. They print more money for their friends in these wars, and they want to keep doing it. And they're going to continue to increase our inflation. Our housing markets will suffer. Our store prices will suffer. Um, if they continue to rein in control on oil resources, like they tried to in Venezuela and failed. Look up that they failed. I don't. Venezuela is a true democracy, and they won against a Zionist American candidate who would have opened an Israeli Venezuelan base. What do they call them? I forgot, but embassy. That's the word I'm looking for. They wanted to start a Venezuelan embassy in Israel. So they're so Zionist that they wanted Israel and Western world to come and create an occupation on their people, like traitors. Traitors. That's what I'm hearing. You don't support Venezuelan people being supportive of themselves and not being forced into this uh, banking cartel, this oil cartel, this military industrial power complex that has the most military bases around the world. We spend our tax dollars on shipping all these American soldiers and equipment to more than 800 bases around the world. Hey, you really green people should also vote for Jill Stein because she doesn't believe in our military doing that either. Our military produces so much carbon emissions, they could register as their own nation. They basically do,
Jesus.
like a major nation. Like
Jesus.
that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so our tax dollars are going to that. And then they spit in our faces when they say, we're going to tax you more to help our carbon emissions. Well, how about you stop taxing us for the military so much and we're going to save a lot? Billions and billions of dollars, Americans. Rethink it. That's what the message is. Do not support Zionism. Do not support our taxes going to bomb these children or Zionism as well. Um, Vote Jill Stein, but Jill Steen. I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name, but I believe it's Stein. And because we need to start putting the American working class first, finally. You think a rich man like Donald Trump was going to be the American working class hero, and he's not. And you thought someone who behind the scenes was getting rich as well with millions of dollars like Barack Obama did and Joe Biden has and all the other Democrat politicians, they get rich just like Republicans do when they're in power. It's an insult to yourself. Be smarter. We got to vote another way that represents the American working class, man. And that's what I'm about.
Yeah, fuck yeah, man. Uh, Jill Stein. So, our next question was gonna be, uh, you got something you want to tell the people before you go? And I think you fucking told them something before you
Yeah,
went.
man. That
Before
was
you went, bro. No, that was awesome, man. It's awesome because it represents something I believe in, and that's if you believe in something, believe it with everything that you are,
be there.
everything that exists inside
I've
you.
been wrong before, man,
So
but I sure try. You know
fuck, I understand, and I'm all for being on the right side of history, and I'm
that part.
really against murdering motherfuckers. I'm really against
Yeah,
murdering children. I'm really against.
yeah,
So it's but I'm also just a fucking stoner. So it really helps sitting down with you a little bit and getting high and talking about shit that matters. Because usually we get high and talk about shit that don't matter. So I appreciate you giving me some of your time, and appreciate you taking me to school on this whole situation and who you are, teaching us a little bit about who you are. So thank you so much, and keep fighting the good fight, man. We out here.
appreciate it, man.
Y'all already know what it is, what it was, and what it will be.